Welcome to Harrison Hacks.
Hey guys, welcome back to Harrison Hacks. Today I wanted to talk to you and show you a little bit of a preview of my updated Hyper Arcade build. Before we get into this is not a link. I'm almost done the build and I'm trying to get it to you guys as fast as possible. I've also been working on trying to get a smaller edition of Hyper Arcade on the Raspberry Pi. I'm one of the few that have been late to the Raspberry Pi game, but I do plan to do Raspberry Pi builds and keep them as neat and nice as possible. So let's get right into Hyper Arcade, and this is a PC build that I'm working on. And basically, the biggest thing with my build in comparison to others is I have scoured the internet for so many different bezels. Bezels have been such a... I'm going to mute this here. Bezels have been a lot of the work going into this build. Now, I've done it. It's basically based off of HyperPie PC, so I want to give my hats off to everyone involved with HyperPie PC. I have taken it, cut it down to arcade, and if anyone's seen my previous video, I have done previews on my Hyper Arcade build, but HyperPie PC, that's where this came from. So I've got arcade, which is all of the games. I put 4-player games, gun games, and then you've got some CPS, CPS2, CPS3, and a whole bunch of different wheels. And you can delete them, and when I get into the how-to after the release of this, you guys can go ahead and suit it up however you want. I've got some collections here as well. But this is what the main screen looks like. Now, with HyperPie PC, they did a phenomenal job. And what I wanted to do was take that amazing work, and like I said, my hat's off to the creators of HyperPie PC. And I wanted to just do an arcade build, arcade only. And so basically what I'm doing here is each game, if we go into arcade, each game has an individual theme. So every single game is going to play a theme. Now if these are choppy while you're watching, it's just my computer. They work perfectly. So as you can see, every single game has its own artwork as opposed to a generic background with a small video playing. So if we were to go into, let's just say X-Men, and you can see at the bottom here we have 4+, or we have a 2-player edition. So it doesn't matter which one we launch. So let's launch it up, and these run through Rocket Launcher, and they all have bezels. Now the sound does work perfectly, and if they're taking a while to load, it's not normal. It's just because I'm recording, so I want you guys to know that. So there you go. We have it set up where we have a specific bezel per game. So there's X-Men. Now, if let's say I were to go to WWF WrestleFest, we'll launch that. Basically, one of the biggest things for this build for me was to give you guys bezels for each and every game, and I scoured the internet to find as many bezels as possible and make this work. The other thing was to give you artwork for each individual game as opposed to just a video snap. So you can see Superstars, it's got the full screen, there you go. WrestleFest, totally different. So the backgrounds are different, the bezels are different. Let's launch WrestleMania here. So there we go. And you can also, if a game has multiple bezels, and I'm not sure which ones do, this one seems to only have the one. But let's go to hold up. I believe I have over 1,600 games included, and I tried to keep out anything that's just unplayable or really choppy, stuff like that. I wanted to give you guys the best of the best. So we have turtles, and you'll see that there's 2 of each, and that's because we have, this is the 2-player version, and this is the 4-player version. 2-player version, 4-player version. I did the same thing with X-Men. I did the same thing with Sunset Riders. I wanted to give you guys as many different games as I could possible. Again, everything's running through Rocket Launcher. Everything runs smooth, and this is a budget laptop, so it's not like I'm running a high-end PC. Everything should work for you. So let's see if I can change the bezel in Turtles. And there we go. So you have your options. And I will do a how-to video on how to change the bezels for each game, as I'm doing now. Everything's running perfectly, and I have run this off of MAME 0.185. Now I know there is newer versions of MAME out, but I just found that 0.185 works perfectly for me. I've had no issues, and I've also been able to, again, take out all of the games that are troublesome or just don't play very correctly. So I've left in, we have, and some games do need higher end PCs, but most don't. So one I want to show you is Mortal Kombat 4. Oh, also The Simpsons. We have the 4-player version and the 2-player version. We have Simpsons Bowling, which is really fun to play actually. Simpsons Bowling is pretty cool. Now you can see I'm scrolling and I'm holding it hard. Here's all the Play Choice games. They're all there. Everything's got its own separate artwork. And again, if it's freezing in the video, it's not going to do that on your PC. It's just my crappy PC while I'm recording. Again, the reason why I wanted to give you guys the update on Hyper Arcade was it's something I've been working on, and I almost released it a little while back, but then once I was learning about these arcade bezels, I thought, you know what, to make it more authentic, let's do the best I can to make it as authentic as possible. Now most of the bezels are artwork as opposed to looking like the actual arcade units themselves. However, I am working on a build right now that for the Pi that has realistic bezels, and so that's something that's coming in the future as well. The most time-consuming part is the bezels. It does take a lot of time to get the screens looking perfect, and I'm very meticulous when it comes to things like that. So here we go, and I'm just changing the bezel in the background just to give you guys like a little bit of a preview. So let's see if I can get to the Mortal Kombat. So we have Mortal Kombat here, and Mortal Kombat 2, totally different. Mortal Kombat 3, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. So you can see that the themes are all individual for each individual game. I think this would be a great build for anyone that has a bar top or an actual arcade machine, running a MAME machine, stuff like that. If you want to run on your PC, I mean, that's excellent as well. I will be porting this to the Pi, like I mentioned earlier. It's just a lot of these games don't run on the Pi, and I'm working out which ROMs work best with which emulator on the Pi. It's so easy to do on the PC only because MAME is MAME, and you don't have MAME Advanced, you don't have MAME 2003, MAME 2010, so on and so forth. So here I am just changing the background bezels for you guys. And the one I prefer is this one here. So honestly, I think that if I were to hold start here, so I'm going to let this run through, and this will launch up Mortal Kombat 4. Now you might have a few issues with the first time that you run certain games, but it shouldn't happen to you every single time. So if I want to skip testing, I'll just hold any button. I just wanted to release this video for anyone that's interested in an arcade only build. That's why I made this video, and that's why I made this build. I myself do not have an arcade unit. I do not have a bar top. The only arcade games I'm running is through my SNES Classic, and using my MEO Edge joystick with 2 buttons. So I'm only running 2-button arcade games. Now I have a Sega Saturn USB controller, which I love to use with MAME, but it's just not the same feeling as an actual arcade stick, and that's a goal of mine in the future, is to build myself an arcade cabinet for myself and friends and family to enjoy. But there we go here. So you can see. Now, I'm not sure if this is my PC making it choppy or if it's the emulator itself. Whether or not it's emulated correctly, I'm not sure. There we go. MIA. Excellent classic game. Love MIA. So again, guys, really appreciate you watching. I'm trying to get this build out as fast as possible. It takes a lot of work to get everything up and running perfectly, and I want it to be as user-friendly as possible as well. Anyone interested in this, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Consider supporting me on Patreon. I am going to release this on Patreon first, and then in the coming weeks, possibly do a public release. So I just wanted to give everyone a heads up of what I'm working on. Most recently is my N64 Classic PC Edition. I also have another Classic Edition that I'm working on, and I think it's going to be pretty spectacular. Not to toot my own horn or anything like that, but I think everyone's going to enjoy that as well. And at this moment, I'm trying to port a lot of my stuff to the Pi, which does take some time as well. But Hyper Arcade is my #1 priority at the moment, and I'm trying to get this done, like I said, as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So again, guys, I really appreciate you watching. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and most importantly, have a good day.